But the text itself, within the language of the text, is the potential for the end of the institution of slavery. And that's what people like Muhammad Abdu noticed a long time ago, is that if you read the Quranic text, it is consistently establishing a normative value system of the morality, the positive morality of freeing slaves. So repeatedly, and we'll see in Surah Al Nisa again, where it underscores the moral value that of liberating slaves. And as we know, early, among the very earlier revelations of the Quran, that we are told that عتق رقبة, to free a slave, is فك رقبة, is it's not coming to me. Anyway, that to free your neck from bondage in hell, the way you escape the bondage of hell is to free a slave. عتق رقبة, as the Quran says. So that ethic is established early on in Quran, consistently, the freeing of slaves, which is, by the way, very unique, because the Bible doesn't do that, and obviously the Old Testament doesn't do that. And other than the Quran, I don't know any religious text that does that. That the constant emphasizing of freeing slaves as a positive moral value. But you will see that the text itself, within the text, is the moral power for achieving the ultimate Quranic project of freeing people from slavery. Who unleashes that power within the text? It is the interpreter of the text who acts as a moral agent in approaching that text. It's like the text, it's like oil. Oil is energy. Allah created the oil underground. But who unleashes the power that is richly embedded in the ground? Well, it's the engineer that comes and says, okay, I'm going to excavate, I'm going to bring out the oil, and then we're going to use this oil to do all these things that we do with oil. The interpreter is the excavator of the text. If the interpreter is a bad engineer, you're not going to unleash the moral power of the text. If you're a bad engineer, you're going to create a disaster. In which, instead of excavating the moral richness of the ground, or the richness of the ground, you are simply going to create a mess. You're going to pollute, you're going to kill a lot of animals with, you might release the oil that just gushes out in the air if it's, a pressurized dig and so on, and with all the disasters that could ensue. This is a point that 100 years ago we immediately realized, through the efforts of people like Muhammad Abdu, it became accepted mantra. There is a moral power in the text, and it is the ethical excavator, the interpreter, that comes and unleashes the moral power of the text. And that Allah Allah puts morality or embeds morality in the text in the same way that Allah puts oil in the ground. Lo and behold, 100 years later, Again, the normal story about colonialism, secularism, Westernism, Salafism, Wahhabism, all the isms in the world. And we're back again to, do we really need morality? Doesn't isn't there something like just an interpreter that comes and just applies the text mechanically? Why would there be moral values embedded in the text that needs a good engineer? It's amazing. It's like in the sunnah of Allah's kawn, Allah teaches us that you need the good doctor to treat. The doctor doesn't invent medicine. All the doctor does is go to nature, see the medicine that nature offers, and applies it to the illness. And an engineer comes and takes what Allah has put in nature, puts it together in the right way, and offers value to us. But then we come, so we could learn from Allah's sunnah in creation. But then we come to the text and say, oh, we don't need a doctor, we don't need an engineer. We just need a robot that reads the text and applies it mechanically and blindly. Don't you learn from Allah's sunnah? Allah consistently tells us, I create good, but I want you to work to bring out that good. Similarly, Allah creates the good in the Qur'an and puts it in the Qur'an. But says in the same way, if you're stupid, if you're ignorant, if you're lazy, the Qur'an is not going to give you its fruits. The same thing about women and slavery. And for that matter, orphans. Because, as we will see, we don't rise to the level of morality that is embedded in Surah Al Nisa. We repeatedly fail the morality of Surah Al Nisa. That, in other words, we often come to Surah Al Nisa, but we don't excavate the oil. We leave the oil and, or pretend it doesn't exist or whatever it is.